The holidays are nearly here, and I've got the perfect gifts for the adventurers in your life, or maybe for yourself. Check out my exclusive holiday merch collection featuring cozy hoodies, insulated mugs, warm beanies, and custom gear you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're curling up with your favorite episode or showing off your fandom on the go, the merch store has something special just for you. Your purchase will support the podcast, enabling me to produce more adventure-packed episodes. Shop now by clicking on Virginia Outdoor Adventures merch store in the show notes of your listening app. Hurry, orders must be placed by December 10th for holiday delivery. From the Blue Ridge Mountains to the Chesapeake Bay, Virginia is a mecca for outdoor travel and adventure. Virginia Outdoor Adventures podcast is your local guide for hiking, camping, kayaking, travel, and so much more. Get the information and the inspiration to plan your own adventure right here in Virginia. I'm your host, Jessica Bowser. In part 2 of this 2-part episode, I'll share highlights from my latest newsletter featuring discounts on backpacking and first aid gear. We'll wrap up with a complete list of everything included in my cabin stay bag to help you prepare for your own park visit. In case you missed part 1, join me for a spine-tingling episode filled with spooky stories from a haunted hike, perfect for those who love a good thrill. We'll catch up on my recent adventures, including a rescheduled trip to Onancock, one of Virginia's adventure towns. Plus, we'll dive into your fan mail, so keep those messages coming by clicking on Send Jessica a Text Message in your show notes. Let's go. Let's jump to the part you've all been waiting for. This is the What I Pack in My Camp Bag series. And if you didn't hear the backstory in the trailer, real quick, I was sitting around with some Virginia State Park staff members back in August, and we all travel to state parks and have to spend the night frequently. So we were talking about how we all have these bags that we keep packed all the time, and we just grab them when we are going to spend the night in a state park. And it's got everything that we need for either a cabin stay or a campsite stay. So I think for the purposes of time today, I'm just going to share one of these bags, and maybe I'll share the other one next time because I've got more stuff than I even realized till I started spreading it out across my floor here. So let's see what we've got. So this is my cabin bag. I'll share the camp bag next time. So in the cabin bag, we have kitchen hand towels. In case you don't know, there are no linens provided in Virginia State Park cabins. So you need to bring all your linens. That includes bed sheets, blankets, towels for the bathroom, and towels for the kitchen. So I have a couple of hand towels for the kitchen. Very cute ones. I bought at a craft fair, by the way. They have this really cute bear wearing a sweater, holding a mug. It says Cabin Fever. It's so adorable. Somebody handmade this. I think I bought it last holiday season. I've got several Tupperware containers, stackable ones, so they'll fit inside of the bag, because when you are cooking in a Virginia State Park cabin, you have all of the cooking utensils, pots, pans, measuring cups, spoons, everything you could possibly need, but there are not any containers to store leftovers in. And sometimes you're going to want to bring your leftovers home. So I've got stackable Rubbermaid containers for bringing home and storing leftovers. I've got a couple of rolls of tin foil, because, you know, you might want to cover a cookie sheet or something if you're going to put it in the oven, or cover the grill. Coffee filters. Every park cabin has a coffee maker, but you will not find coffee filters unless somebody who stayed there before you left them behind and they happen to be in there. But the park does not supply them, so it's not likely you're going to find them. So I've got coffee filters. Then I've got extra trash bags. Now, there are trash bags in the cabins. Usually there's an extra one inside each trash can in case you need it, and you can always get extras from the park office if you need to. The reason I like to have extra trash bags is, one, you might want to keep your recyclables separate from your trash. Oftentimes I bring my recyclables home, depending on where you are. Like the parks have to follow the trash and recycling procedures for the localities where they are. So if the locality where the park is located doesn't have recycling, then there isn't going to be a recycling container in your cabin or in the park. So I will bring extra trash bags with me to separate my recyclables, bring them home if I need to. And also I like to have extra trash bags for wet towels. Lots of times, you're checking out in the morning, your towel is still wet from your shower, or like the towel that you put on the floor in front of the shower. Like that's, to me, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe. Like that's super gross to me. I don't want that towel packed up with the rest of my stuff. So I'll put that in a separate trash bag. Then I've got more bags, more Ziploc bags, again, for storing things. If you're making sandwiches to take on your hike and you need sandwich bags. Now, I have reusable sandwich bags now that I bring with me. So this is kind of a relic of the past. But if you need them for snacks or you don't have enough, if I don't have enough of the reusable bags, I've got sandwich bags here. Extra napkins. I have several rolls of paper towels that I've brought home with me from other cabin stays just because they will always replace the paper towels with a new roll of paper towels, which makes me wonder what happens to the old roll. I don't actually know what happens to the old roll. I hope it doesn't get thrown out, but I hate to waste. I bring the open roll of paper towels home with me. What else do we have here? Okay, so I've got disinfectant wipes. Oh, I have kitchen gloves. So very few state park cabins have dishwashers. There are a couple. Mostly it's because of the water systems and the sewer systems in the areas. Well, especially with the older cabins, there were definitely no dishwashers during the time of the Civilian Conservation Corps building cabins. But in the newer cabins, it really all depends on if the area that they're in makes it possible to install dishwashers. So very few actually have them. So most of the time you're going to be washing your own dishes. And they always provide, it's almost like sample size or travel size container of Palmolive, the green stuff. Every time I smell that stuff, it immediately makes me think about a cabin because I'm so used to it. It's like I smell green Palmolive and I'm like, oh yeah, that smells like a cabin. But I always have kitchen gloves with me for the purpose of washing dishes because your hands are going to get dried out. And that Palmolive stuff, like, if you've ever read the label, there's some nasty chemicals in that stuff. I have a pair of long kitchen tongs. It's not so much for cooking in the kitchen, but usually for the grill or the campfire outside. It's nice to have a pair of tongs so you're not sticking your hand right over the heat or the hot flame. Then I also have a long Bic lighter, not the little lighters that you use for cigarettes, I guess. The big lighter that has the long extended tube on the end so that you can light things without having to stick your hand right in them. And speaking of fires, I have several things that I carry with me for fires. Actually, I have two of those big lighters because you always want to have a second one in case the first one runs out. So there's two in there. I do have matches, but honestly, matches are pretty much useless, especially if you're using a fire starter because the match will burn down to your fingertips before the fire starter even catches. Do yourself a favor, get these long lighters. For fire starters, I've got, what is this? Light a fire starters. They're like sawdust in a little paper cup. These things are fantastic and they're super cheap too. You can buy a whole bag of them for a few bucks. They last forever. And they light really easily and they work so well. Another good option are these fire starter bricks, but I find that they're a little more expensive. They're much bigger, so they take up more space in your bag. I really like these smaller fire starter cups a little bit better as far as like space and weight and whatnot. So I think those are fantastic. Imagine taking in the expansive views of the Shenandoah Valley, hiking to one of the few remaining fire towers east of the Mississippi, or walking in the footsteps of thru hikers along the Appalachian Trail. Now lace up your hiking boots and head to Harrisonburg, an ideal base camp for your outdoor adventure. If you're a regular listener of the show, you've probably heard me share some of my many epic adventures in and around Harrisonburg, like my first mountain biking experience on the western slope of Massanutten, my first underground caving experience, or my unforgettable hike to the historic High Knob Fire Tower in the George Washington National Forest, with 360-degree views at the top. The Harrisonburg Rockingham Trail Guide introduces a collection of 15 trips and trails, from stunning mountain climbs to peaceful wooded pathways. Each page includes a map and description of the trail, as well as distance, difficulty, and special considerations. The clickable map on Visit Harrisonburg's website is user-friendly and made my last adventure super easy to plan. Harrisonburg has everything to satisfy my adventure-loving spirit, plus all the cuisine, entertainment, museums, and attractions you would expect from an award-winning Main Street community. No wonder Harrisonburg is friendly by nature. Start planning your adventure by clicking on Visit Harrisonburg in the show notes of your listening app. Let's see, we've got hand sanitizers. I've got a couple of koozies. Oh, insulated glasses with lids. This is key, people, especially if you're going to be sitting outside during the buggy season or even when it's cooler out. Putting your drink in an insulated cup keeps it either hot or cold. And if you want to keep the bugs out, you really need to have a lid, and the lid can't have a hole in it where you drink out of unless that has a cover too. Did I already say bug spray? If not, I've got bug spray. Then I also have those mosquito repellent incense sticks. What brand is this? Murphy's Naturals. You stick them in the ground and you light the top of them and they look like an incense stick, and you can stick it around your picnic table or wherever you're sitting outside. And this does a pretty good job of keeping mosquitoes away. Then I have not one, but 2 oven mitts. Also really good for when you're cooking outside. I have a battery-operated tabletop lantern. I don't usually use this a lot because it's white light and it does attract the bugs, but every now and then I will stick this out on the table if it's cooler weather and it's not too buggy and I need to be able to see. And then I've got a couple of candles. Both of these were gifts, actually. This one is really nice. Sun and Spruce is the name of the company. They are local to Roanoke, and this is called McAfee Morning. Oh my gosh, that smells so good. Love this. I actually haven't used this one yet. The other one I have, but I put it in my bag because I plan on using it. It's just for a little ambiance. Nobody needs to have candles, but it's kind of nice once in a while. Now here comes the Ziploc bag full of all of the little stuff. I just went through all the big stuff, but I've got the Ziploc bag that has all the little things in one place. I swear everything you could possibly think of is in here. So, okay, here we go. I've got a rope. Why would I need a rope? Well, sometimes you've got wet towels. If you're at a park where you've been swimming and you want to hang up your towels when you're done, this is good. If you're staying at a park where the cabins are the cinder block type that have the screened in front porches, you're not going to have a deck railing to throw your towels over like you would on the newer cabins that have the big wraparound decks. I mean, those you just throw your towels over the deck railing. But sometimes you don't have that. First Landing State Park has retractable ropes inside the screened in front porch, which makes sense because they're a park that's on the beach. But most parks don't, as far as I know. And I was caught out in the rain once when I was staying at Ferrystone. And when I got back, I grabbed this rope, strung it up across the front of the fireplace, started a fire, hung all my wet clothes, and they were dry within a couple of hours. I got a couple of random plastic utensils. Also inside the bag, After Bite. I guess you put this on after you get a bug bite. All right. Lids for cat food cans, sunscreen, some, what do you call this? It's called Rooting Bear Rub, but it's basically like this thick greasy stuff you put on your hands for when they're super chapped. I actually really like those in the winter when your hands are getting really chapped. Oh, I've got dishwasher pods. I did say that it's not often that there is a dishwasher in a state park cabin, but every now and again there is, and there may or may not be dish pods. Chip clip. Yeah, because you're probably bringing snacks with you, and once the bag is open, how are you going to close it? So there's that. More matches. Multi-tool. Never know when you might need that. Rubber bands. One of those reusable straw cleaners, like the little brush. Wine bottle corkscrew. Do not leave home without that. Another chip clip. Another chip clip. Another lighter. A flashlight. Oh, wine bottle stopper for a wine bottle. Because once you open your wine bottle, you know how you get like those really fancy cork stoppers for gifts or like at a wedding shower? I've got one that says love on the top. Who knows where it came from, but it got thrown in the bag. Here's the reusable straw. This must have just gotten thrown in the bag too. Can opener. Okay, so most cabins do have a can opener, but there was one time I was staying in a cabin with friends of ours that we had invited, and it was over Labor Day weekend. We were grilling out, and I had plans to make this 3-bean salad. So I had all these cans of beans with me, and when I pulled the can opener out of the drawer and tried to open the cans, I found out it was busted. So I think one of us ended up having to run to the store for a can opener, and that's probably what this is. And by the way, if you find something that's broken or something breaks while you're using it, please do tell the staff. There's these little maintenance cards in all the cabins. And if it doesn't get reported, then the cleaning staff has no way of knowing that it's broken, and it's just going to end up right back in the drawer, and the next person is going to pull it out and have the same circumstance that I had. This is one of those thermometers, I think, for the grill to know what temperature the grill is, or maybe your fire. Actually, it's better for a fire than for a grill, because with the fire, you just never know. Oh, extra phone charger. Yeah, that's really smart to have, because how many times do you leave home and forget your phone charger? The last thing I have in my cabin stay bag that I'll share is a cabin journal. Now, this is the same cabin journal that you see in all the cabins. They're pretty standard. It's usually propped up above the fireplace or maybe on the coffee table. And if you're staying in the cabin, you're welcome to write in it. It's set up so that it asks you for different information, like when you visited, what the weather was like, who was with you, what you did, who you met, if you had any wildlife or nature sightings, favorite moments, highlights, special memories, things like that. It's really fun to read through these journals when you're staying in a cabin and see who's been there before you and what experience they've had. New in Season 5, this podcast will only be available to paid subscribers. Just kidding. Virginia Outdoor Adventures is always free for my listeners. But did you know this podcast costs on average $850 a month plus 60 hours of labor to produce? That doesn't even include travel time and expenses, equipment, or marketing to promote the show. Contributions from listeners like you help defray the cost of producing quality episodes that serve as resources for your next adventure. To show my appreciation for your continued support, I've created brand new membership levels on Buy Me a Coffee. New membership perks include exclusive offers from my sponsors, discounts in the merch store, and virtual happy hour events with guest speakers. Members will also continue to receive vinyl stickers, the full list of links and resources from every episode sent directly to your inbox, and a shout out on the show. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider supporting me. Hit pause on your podcast player, go to your show notes, and click on Buy Me a Coffee, where you can buy me a virtual coffee or sign up for a membership. My sincerest gratitude for the newest members of Virginia Outdoor Adventures: Karen from Broadlands, Ryan from Holly Springs, Donna from Danville, Christina from Alexandria, and Michelle from Newport News. Thank you so much for your support. And I ended up with my own journal, which is kind of a funny story in and of itself. This goes back to like 2019, I think it was. Way back in my prior life when I was an elementary school teacher, I had a mentor who also happened to be a legislator. He was at the time the longest serving delegate in the House of Delegates. And he had started his career as a teacher in Fairfax County as well. So we had that in common, and we had met somewhere, and he kind of unofficially became one of my mentors. I believe he had also worked in Shenandoah National Park when he was young, and he also loves state parks and loves traveling around Virginia. So we kind of had those things in common. And one day he reached out to me and said that he would like for me to come on his TV show to talk about state parks. He wanted his constituents to be able to plan like a weekend getaway with their families. And I said, well, I'm not state park staff or anything, but I'm happy to come on and talk if that's what you want. So he said yes. And I showed up at the recording studio in Reston, and we did this TV segment where he asked me about different parks. And I talked about which parks had kayak rentals and which parks were dark sky parks and which parks had great campgrounds by the water, et cetera, et cetera. And basically just shared my own experiences in state parks and try to provide as much info as I could. Well, right around the same time, I attended what was called Wild Woman Weekend. I don't know if they still do this or not. This was prior to COVID, and during COVID, they had to stop it. And I'm not sure if they ever brought it back. I need to look into that because that was so great. It was such a super popular program. As you know, False Cape is difficult to access because you have to pass through a wildlife refuge to get to it. So you cannot drive into the park. You either have to walk or hike in or ride your bike, or you can paddle in by water. And it's only certain times of the year that you can hike in or ride your bike. So it's not an easy park to get to. If you signed up for Wild Woman Weekend, they would pick you up by bus outside the park. They would bring this whole group of women in all at the same time. And it was like a retreat for the weekend. And they had all these programs planned for us. They had beach walks and guided hikes and bird walks and painting and wine tasting and chocolate sampling and meditation and just all kinds of stuff. And all of our meals were provided for us. They were amazing. The whole thing was just epic. And we stayed inside the education center, which is right on the water. It's really beautiful, kind of bunk style, if you don't mind that. One bathroom, though, that was the only downside. One full bathroom, I should say. They did have an outside shower, so that was kind of cool. So I was there, and at that retreat, I met Ranger Cam, who was the assistant park manager at the time. And I just love her. She's retired now, unfortunately. I mean, good for her, but sad for Virginia State Parks. Ranger Cam is who I want to be when I grow up. So I met her there and we were talking, and I happened to mention that I had just done this TV segment, and she said, well, I'd be interested in seeing it when it comes out. So a couple of weeks later, I sent her the link and didn't hear back from her directly, but I found out later on that she had sent it to her boss, who sent it to his boss, who was the director of state parks, and somehow it eventually went all the way up to the governor's office. I'm not really sure how or why that happened. I think it got put in somebody's reports, but funny for me to find that out many, many months later. But then I got this voicemail message from Director Seaver saying that he had seen the TV segment and he really wanted to talk to me. And I thought, oh gosh, what did I do wrong? So I called him back and he said, I just loved that TV segment. You talk about state parks better than we do. I'd like to invite you to attend a conference at Westmoreland State Park that's coming up, and it's being hosted by the Virginia Association for Parks. And I said, well, what's that? He said, it's an organization that advocates for state parks. And I said, well, that sounds right up my alley. I'm in. So I showed up at Westmoreland. I met Director Seaver there, met some amazing people. It is such a fantastic organization. Some of my closest friends I have met through the Virginia Association for Parks. I love the work that we do. It's so much fun to spend time with passionate people who love state parks, who spend their time volunteering to ensure that our parks are preserved for all of us. So awesome, awesome organization. And after that conference, I hit the road and went on what I called my 10-day Southwest Virginia Trail Quest journey. I was very close to finishing Trail Quest, but I still had 6 parks left, and 5 of them were in Southwest Virginia, which for me up in Northern Virginia is like a 6-hour drive to the closest one. So I took a week off of work and I just went weekend to weekend and hit 5 of them. And I got to Natural Tunnel and I walked into my cabin and I saw the cabin journal and I opened it up, and there is a welcome message on the first page from the state parks director, Craig Seaver. It was the first time I had ever read the welcome message. Since I had just met him, like, it really clicked with me. And I decided to send him a message on Facebook. And I said, hey, Craig, I'm at Natural Tunnel State Park and I just read your message in the cabin journal. Just wondering, would it be possible for me to get one of these journals? Like, do they sell them in the gift shops, or is there some other place I can buy one? And he writes me back. It turns out that Natural Tunnel was his quote unquote home park. I believe he may have been the park manager there before he got promoted to state parks director. So he knew all the staff, and he had also just recently retired from state parks director. Like, all this happened really fast. Like, he called me, I met him at the conference, and then he retired all within like 2 weeks. It all happened real quick. And he now lives near Natural Tunnel State Park. So he writes me back and he goes, I can get you one of those journals. All he said. The next morning, I had just woken up and I'm putzing around my cabin and there's a knock on the door. And I look through the window at the top of the door and I see the ranger hat. Yeah, I don't know why I always think I'm in trouble. Like I did something wrong, because rangers never knock on your cabin door unless, you've called them for something or something's going on. Like they don't usually knock on your door for any reason. So I'm like, oh shoot, what did I do? So I opened the door and there was a ranger holding a brand new cabin journal that was just for me. Craig had reached out to him and said that I was staying in the park and that I needed to get one of these journals. So it was hand delivered to me. And now it is extra special. I have been writing down every single one of my cabin stays in here since when? My gosh. I must have gone back and retroactively added them because this goes back to 2015. Yeah, that is what I did. I retroactively added all my cabin stays, which you can do if you go onto the reservation system. You can just easily pull up all of your previous reservations and it'll even tell you which cabin number you were in. So I recorded all of those. And then from that point forward, I have carried this with me and I always fill it out, usually like right before I leave. And I love this practice because things happen that you will forget about when you're staying. You think you're going to remember, but it's the little details that you tend to forget. And when you write down those little details and you go back and read them, it reminds you of those moments and, how much fun you had. I would recommend, if you don't have a journal, getting one. It doesn't have to be this official journal. It can just be a small notebook and just jot down some of the little things that you think you might forget after time passes, or sketch. A lot of people love to sketch too. I think that's really neat. If I had any type of artistic skills, I think I would sketch. And I know you don't need to have artistic skills to sketch, but that's just not my thing. I enjoy this. And I would recommend for anybody who wants to hang on to those memories, this is a great idea. That is all for my cabin stay bag. I do have other bags that go along with this bag. I have bags just for linen, so sheets, blankets, towels, even slippers. And then I have a bag of food items. So coffee, tea, oatmeal for the morning, snacks, things like that. Next time, I think I'll go through the actual campsite bag because that's a whole different bag of stuff. Let me know if this was of any value to you, please, before I rip apart the next bag and have that scattered all over my room. So send me a text message, click on send Jessica a text message in your show notes to let me know what you thought of this list. And if you have anything that you bring that I forgot, let me know because I might need to add it to this bag. There's a little bit of space left. I think I can do that. I'm going to wrap this up here by reminding everyone that if you haven't signed up for the email newsletter, please do so. Now, why would you want to sign up for yet another email in your inbox? Great question. So first of all, the email newsletters, I tried to make them as valuable as I possibly can because nobody wants more junk and more people trying to sell them things in their inbox. What I do provide is tips, resources, and more recently, I have added a new section where I'm putting promo codes and discounts for different outdoor brands. The one that came out most recently as of this recording was for a first aid kit, which is really nice. It's super cute. It's small and compact and lightweight, and it's got this adorable design. I had to choose between the woodland animals one or the campsite one, which had little campfires and tents. Both of them were really cute. I went with the campsite one. And inside, I was so impressed when I opened it. It's every single thing you could possibly need in a first aid kit and then some, including my favorite, a tick remover. You need to have one of those in your pack. And so if you don't, this is a great opportunity to get one. Also, what you need to have in your pack is a first aid kit. It's part of the 10 essentials. And if you don't have this, this is a great opportunity to get one at a discount. So sign up for my email newsletter. The link is in your show notes. I think that's going to be all, friends. Don't forget to text me and let me know what you thought about this solo episode. And until next time, friends, adventure on. In case you missed part 1, join me for a spine-tingling episode filled with spooky stories from a haunted hike. Perfect for those who love a good thrill. We'll catch up on my recent adventures, including a rescheduled trip to Onancock, one of Virginia's adventure towns. Plus, we'll dive into your fan mail, so keep those messages coming by clicking on Send Jessica a Text Message in your show notes. Virginia Outdoor Adventures is inspired by and supported by listeners like you, which is why your messages and feedback mean so much to me. You can text me directly by clicking on Send Me a Text Message in your show notes. I answer questions, respond to comments, and share your feedback on the show. Never miss an update. Get even more information and inspiration by signing up for my newsletter. Click on Newsletter Sign Up in your show notes or visit virginiaoutdooradventures.com. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adventure on.